Calling the school committee meeting to order for December 16th, 2025. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda are the approval of the school committee meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2025. Are there any questions or changes to the minutes as presented? Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
So the motion was Chris Mancini, the second was it? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Next, we have the public participation portion of the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience or online that is here for the public participation portion of the agenda? Seeing none, next we have reports and presentations. District updates, Brian.
Thank you. Just a few updates for the committee and folks at home tonight. Just an update on the space utilization study. We have received qualifications from 3 different firms, and over last Friday and continuing into yesterday, a small group from the facilities department and Dan Gale's office interviewed the 3 firms and they'll come in and walk us through the package that they provided for us. We're pretty lucky. We have 3 firms that are all very qualified and have done this exact kind of work. So our goal has been by the end of the calendar year to have a firm selected so that it can begin in January. All 3 of these firms are able to follow that timeline. We're still on target. We should have somebody that we can announce to the committee at the next meeting selected. Hudson has experience with 2 of the firms, and the third is just a firm that came recommended, so I'm putting in a packet for us. So the good news is they're all indicating that they can likely do this in even shorter time window than we were thinking, so that we have some recommendations we can consider earlier than May or June, the early part of May, which would be great. And the second thing is they're all indicating that the price point that we have is sort of within the window of what something like this costs. So all good indicators that the project moving forward. So we'll give you another update in early January. We should have them engaged as a firm to work with us. I wanted to make an announcement. I think I told the committee that Paulo Merta, who is my executive assistant, also does the work for the school committee, is leaving the district. His last official day is January 5th. He'll probably be in the office through right around after Christmas and then using some vacation on. I'm pleased to report that I've hired Leticia Machado, who is actually working up in our special education office to replace Paulo. Leticia has been in the district since sort of early spring last year and has been doing outstanding job up there working the sort of finance side of the special education department. We felt awful scaling her away, but she was by far the most qualified candidate. We had over 20 applicants for the role. We interviewed 5 or 6 people, and she just came out well above all the other candidates. So she has been shadowing Paulo all of last week and will continue all this week and doing some of her work still upstairs because they're in the process of backfilling her position. They've already done some interviews for that one as well. So she's excited to start. Leticia is also bilingual, which is very helpful to have in my fluent in Portuguese. So she will engage with the community that way as well, which is great. So at some point we'll figure out a way to have her meet the committee, since she'll be sort of the behind the scenes person that will be supporting work with the board as well as my office. So very excited to have Leticia on board. Right after the vacation, she'll be flying solo in there, but we're excited about having her. Just to remind the committee and folks at home that next Tuesday we have an early release on 12/23 for students and staff, and that the schools will be closed for December break from 12/24 through Sunday, January 4th, reopening Monday. Wanted to let folks know also that in January, we have scheduled a data presentation for the school committee where we'll provide information on MCAS, access, benchmark, any benchmark data that we have, literacy data from our elementary schools. Our team of directors are putting together a whole slate of information for the committee and the public to see. Haven't decided yet whether it'll be the first or the second meeting. We're trying to sort of organize, make sure the meetings are balanced. We already have a couple of things in more studies from high schools. We don't want to overload one meeting, but that's coming up, and the presentation is shaping up, I think, really nicely. Coupled with that, we've really had a heavy focus this year on data, thanks to the work of our curriculum directors who are really quite skilled at analyzing and pulling data and using data. We've been looking at attendance data and protocols, looking at discipline data and protocols, really trying to correct that sort of garbage in, garbage out mentality around data that we've had here, trying to make sure the data that we're putting in is strong so we can use it to make that data-informed decisions. So we've been focusing on that since the summer. And part of that, you probably heard when we've done presentations in the past, we talked about Open Architects, which is a new platform that we purchased last year. The data warehouse, it's just been amazing. It's been an amazing tool. Every time we need something added, they're very responsive. And so it keeps all those data points we just talked about when I mentioned MCAS access, attendance, discipline, all kinds of demographic data, and all these different dashboards. If we need something to be customized, they're handling that for us as well. And so we've done a good job of rolling that out at the administrative level. Ellen Chuck has put out for teachers to volunteer to learn about Open Architects, and we've got somewhere between 8 and 10 teachers that have volunteered to be a part of a sort of pilot group to learn how Open Architects works, because the goal is to roll it out to all teachers so that they would have these data dashboards in front of them for their own kids, which would be really helpful. See where students are when they're progressing, and it pulls in everything from DIBELS data to the benchmark assessments that we use through literacy program to our math data. It would just pull all of that in, and you can have a pretty in-depth picture of where a student sits and relationships between students' attendance and their grades and their performance. So we're looking forward to that, and I think it's really cool that we have that many teachers that were interested in learning about these software. So we already have licenses for them, so we're just a few steps away from being able to roll out. So we'll probably talk a little bit more about that when we do the data presentation, but that's I think exciting that happens this summer and fall and winter. And then lastly, just wanted to make the committee aware that I did receive a communication from the custodial union Monday. It was yesterday. It's been a long week already. It was just yesterday, noting that they are interested in engaging with the school committee for their new contract expires at the end of this school year. So that's the second of the two unions that we would negotiate with this year. So that's Sarah, Zach, and Chris Yates are the three members of the school committee that shape with that team. So perhaps when we're done tonight, we can talk about a couple of dates that I can throw back to them. They're interested in getting one date on the calendar now, just so we can do ground rules, and then when we're all in the same room, we can pick 2 or 3 dates down the road. And they're looking obviously to do this in January.
And they're aware that contacting us in December is going to lead to a January meeting, and we're getting started in May, and that's no fault of the school committee.
Yes. So they, in the email, an email came from their union representative from the organization that represents them. He did specifically note that they're looking for January. They did not mention when they would start, but I know that that's something I communicated with the president as well.
Because our terms roll over in early May, so we will be they will have to be flexible to be able to meet when we need to meet to get it done beforehand because of the late start.
The hope is relatively few sessions.
It went very smoothly last time, and I would anticipate that would be the case again. And they've always been great to deal with. So just beware, just have them beware of
Yeah.
our timeline.
So we can talk after the meeting about a date, a couple dates that I can offer them. And that's all I have for my.
Thank you. Subcommittee reports. Does anybody have any subcommittee reports? I have nothing to report on. Does anybody else?
Advisory council or?
Yeah, I'm gonna pause on that for a second. We can come back to that another time. Matters for discussion, old business, February 27 budget development update.
Yes, so just an update on where we are with the development of the next school budget. As I noted in my memo, and Dan is with us virtually tonight. We spent some time last week with each budget owner. We asked them to put together a thoughtful presentation that gave us an update on fiscal 26, which is something new. We haven't had them do this in the past, but just to kind of get a sense from each budget owner, are you on track to spend your budget? Did we over fund a certain line item, underfund another line item? This ended up being pretty informative for us to be looking forward to FY 27. We want to make sure we're not just rolling amounts over particular line items. If we're putting too much money in there, we should be either moving it or reducing it. So that's an important piece of work. We asked them to talk us through any requests or increases or decreases in material costs for FY 27. That's supplies, that's PD, that's dues and memberships, or other operational expenses. Personnel, which we were really clear that we're not in a position to really add personnel. We need to be really cautious about that. And that we need to look carefully at enrollment and make decisions around personnel based on enrollment. They spent some time talking about beyond fiscal 27, which is something Dan started doing a couple of years ago, not just thinking about the current budget, but where will we be in 28, 29, 30. And for some programs, there are some important things to be thinking about. We had a good conversation, for example, about the benchmark advanced curriculum that we bought, that, the money that we spent along with the grant funds we got from the state gets us multiple years, but we need to know that in FY 28 or FY 29, we need to do that subscription at a very heavy cost, right? So it's thinking ahead that we know that we may need a $200,000 expense, and to be planful the prior fiscal year around school choice, to be thinking about, because that's a good use for school choice money, these one-time heavy expenses, that we can be thinking about, making sure we're setting aside additional school choice funds that year for the explicit purpose of renewing benchmark advance. So those are kinds of conversations that we're having. And then we did ask them to make any connections they could to the district improvement plan or school improvement plan, our mission, our values, and the elements of effective instruction, which was also an interesting exercise to go through. I think the important part about tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions too, is we wanted to get it on your radar and out into the public, the number that we're building the budget based on, what we're building it based on. And so on the second page of the memo, there's a table that Dan put together that shows that what we're anticipating based on conversations with town manager in the past is that our FY 27 budget will be built on a 2.5% increase over last year's appropriation, which is on average what the town tends to do, plus $500,000 from the override. That was, as you know, when we had the new growth numbers, we changed the application of the override, right? So we applied $2,050,000 of the override to this current budget, leaving us with another $500,000 for fiscal 27, $500,000 for fiscal 28, and so on. So it tapers off. But if you take the $46 million from the town appropriation last year, plus the override, that brought us up to $48,686,703, which was a 9.95% increase, an unusual amount for us, but that's why we did the override. So you take that amount and you add 2.5% to that, it brings you to a base of $49,903,871. Add $500,000 to that, bringing us to a town appropriation of $50,403,871, which represents a 3.53% increase over our appropriation, which is about 1% higher than we're typically afforded. Right? You get 2.5, that's a 3.5. If you remember when Dan did the multi-year projections, 3.5 was sort of that, for lack of a better term, magic number that kept the district solvent without having to think of reductions. It's not a 3.5% is not a building budget. We're not developing new programs. We're not adding significant staffing. But it's sort of a whole even percentage. So that total increase over last year would be 1.7 million. We don't normally take a vote on a number. The school committee doesn't. Usually how we walk into town hall, they tell us here's what you get, and then we work with it. I thought it might be important ahead of that to have the school committee hear this quick presentation, ask questions. You can consider voting that this is the budget request that then Dan and I would then convey that to Paul.
I think in this year, it is smart to take a vote. The crystal clear message to the town hall from the school department needs to be, and we talked about this ad nauseum during the override, that in order to properly fund our budget, we need a 2.5% increase plus the override money. When the town found the extra new growth from the Mass Electric, we were able to reduce the amount of burden on the tax holders and stage it in over 4 years. But we must have had conversations, at least 10 conversations with the town hall, that our budget is 2.5% in the next year plus the override money. So I think that message to the town manager's office, the town finance office, and the select board needs to be extremely clear. And I think it might be prudent for us to take a vote this year for Brian to go in to affirm what they already agreed to with us, so that we don't have an issue of the town manager saying, well, we're going to give you 2% plus the override money. Or we're going to give you 2.25%, but not all of the override money. We're not playing those games. This is what was agreed to, and this is what we need. Otherwise, we are going to be taking a step back. We discussed that time and time and time and time again with them during the override last spring, and they agreed to it. So I think it would make a lot of sense to take that vote. Send that message. Does anybody have anything else to add on that?
Dan, so I don't know if he has. Dan, do you want to add anything to what I said, or?
No, yeah, that's just that we wanted to make clear how we came up with that.
Last time he was
booming.
Oh, he's on mute. Was he always on mute?
No.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
talk now, Dan.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Nothing to add.
If another mission will notice and pop down. Thanks for your contribution, Dan.
Great.
Dan, if you want to stick around, for a little bit, we'll see if Ellen can fix that, and then you can talk when the microphone is working again.
The capital improvements act, I don't know if you want me to call that.
Let me do it all. Let me see if Dan's microphone is working. Back.
So separate from that money, the town does put together a capital plan every year. The school department provides a 5-year outlook of capital items. And you know, since we talked about free cash so much at so many town meetings over the past 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, that's typically in May is when they'll decide to use free cash stabilization to fund some projects that are necessary but aren't able to be funded through the regular budget process. So for fiscal 27, we have 6 items, and they are in order of importance on the list here. I'm not 100% sure how a roof project would be handled, whether it's unlikely that $2.2 million of free cash or stabilization will be assigned to that. That could potentially be debt exclusion, but the Farley roof is the top priority. It's not, if you look at Farley, there's a section of the building that has a shingled pitched roof. That's not the section we're talking about. The other part of the building has a flat roof, is in need. But we're not sure yet. This is a replacement cost. It is, I remember Dave Russo spoke at the last meeting about the potential of having it resurfaced again. We're still waiting for the results of that, so that 2.2 could be lower, but it's still over close to $11 million to do the refurbishment. But that refurbishment gets you 20 years of life out of that refurbished roof. We're just not sure if that's the way to do that. One section of the high school is on there. The whole high school roof is something that needs to be considered over multiple years, but we put that on the due priority. I don't know exactly sections E and G, I'm sorry. I can find that out for you as we get closer. But the two smaller sections of the high school roof for $450,000. We're having an issue with the kitchen floor area in Mulready School. It's got original tiles in there that have cracked and they've been filled in with cement, concrete, and that's not permissible by the health department because it's porous. So the floor needs to be taken up and replaced. The health department knows, the building department, I should say, knows that we're working on this and we're looking for funds to do a replacement. That's a $45,000 project. We have an original system in the auditorium for lights. This is a two-phase project because it's about $600,000 to upgrade the lighting system in the auditorium. We're doing some pieces of it this year with the funds that we have available in the technology budget with some of the dimmers. But the major overhaul, which is upgrading the entire lighting system, which is now close to 23 years for this building, and you figure they probably purchased the equipment a year in advance, so it's probably like a 24-year-old system. So it will be $300,000 requested in fiscal 27, with the remainder slated for fiscal 28. And then univents, those are those boxy items that are on the exterior walls of each classroom that bring in fresh air. They're also used for heat and in some cases air conditioning, but all system. But we're working to replace those at all three elementary schools, starting with Mulready, a $550,000 cost, and then Forest Ave at $750,000. They're just more classrooms in Forest. That's why we will not get all 6 of these items. We put them in priority order for a reason. We'll make a decision around that. Tom will engage with us back and forth to sort of decide plans, but based on our assessment of our facilities, that's what our recommendation is. And then at the end of the memo, I put some just future dates. We had penciled in a workshop on the off Tuesday between school committee meetings, and this will be January 20th. We usually do workshops a little earlier, since this will be a 6 o'clock start. Budget subcommittee is everybody, it's the whole committee. And then we typically will bring in significant portion of the leadership team. It's not typically televised, it's more of a conversation. It is a public meeting, but it's more of a conversation back and forth about the initial budget request, which we'll share more details with you at your first. We have to present to the select board at meeting on February 23rd. We have historically gone to the select board twice, and that started right before I became superintendent. The second meeting feels a bit repetitive to us. We tend to do the same things just 2 weeks later. Well, usually it's a month later. This time they're calling us back 2 weeks later. We're really not going to have much different to report to them on March 9th than we did on February 23rd. And then we're recommending that the school committee think about voting on a final budget March 17th. If that's early, if it goes into early April, that's okay too, just timeline-wise, but we're aiming to get it so that you can vote on a final budget. So just some dates to look at. And if we feel like we need to add, like after the 20th, we'll make sure the budget is on every school committee agenda, so it may not be necessary to have additional workshops, but if there are things that require a higher level discussion, we can always just add a workshop. It's just an easier way to do it than on a regular agenda where I would present information, you have questions. The workshop is more of the back.
Can I add to that?
Please.
So tax bills will be coming out in January. And I just want the public to know that not only is this a override year where the override is being figured in, this was a reassessment year. So the tax rate was set by the select board recently at $14.14 per thousand. So I'm just going to use round numbers. So somebody's house might have been assessed at 500,000 last year, and they might adjust it for the sales market, and that might have become 520 or 525. But this was also a reassessment year, so a lot of houses in town were specifically gone out, looked at, and reassessed. So when these tax bills come out, it's going to be a combination of two things, and this is complicated. It's going to be a combination of the normal adjustment, the reassessment year, which happens once every 3 years, and the town, it just happened to fall into this year. They did it 3 years ago. So if somebody's house was worth 500, in a non-reassessment year, it might reassess for 525. But because it's a reassessment year, it was examined closer, it might go to 600,000. And I'm just using round numbers. So the override average house was in the $500,000 range, and the annual amount phased in over 4 years, if I remember the number, it was like $475 a year.
Yeah, just under 470.
But when people get their tax bills, if their assessment went from 500 to 600 because it was a reassessment year, they're going to have $1,400 a year added to their tax bill plus the override. So when tax bills come out, whoever house was reassessed is going to probably point the picture back to the override, and that is not the case. The override number, it was around $475 a year, phased in over 4 years, remains the same. The fact that it was a reassessment year has nothing to do with the override. So I've been looking at a spreadsheet, and there are many houses in town that were assessed for 900,000, using a round number, that are now assessed for 1.1 million. So their tax bill is going to be larger for the most part because of the reassessment every 3 years. And then the override will be figured on top of that. But the average person isn't going to realize that it was a reassessment year. That's why these values have changed dramatically, and the override is going to be added on top of that, and they're going to point back to the override and point back to the school department to say, this is the reason our tax bills have increased so much, which is not the case. So I wanted to bring that to people's attention so that when the tax bills do come out, that can be properly explained. And to see, people need to go in, see what their house was assessed at last year, see what it was reassessed for during the reassessment year, figure out that tax difference first, and then have the override on top of that. So just something to be aware of, because I'm sure tax bills will probably, I think, come out on January 2nd. So by January 3rd or 4th, we might be getting a lot of inquiries. Does that sound right, Brian?
Yes. Thank you for adding that.
Anything else?
Not on this. Dan texted me, said he had nothing to add, but
Okay.
I don't know if this the vote would be to, would it be as a request to
Yes.
town, or the town managers? I don't know how you want to frame it.
What's the dollar amount?
So this is the appropriation override total. Looks like 50 million numbers total.
Okay, I'll read out the numbers if somebody wants to make a motion. If nobody wants to, then I can. But the town appropriation for F year 27 that we will be asking for, based upon the 2.5% increase, is $49,903. $49,903,871, plus the override funding of $500,000, for a total of $50,403,200. $50,403,000. Or $50,403,871. So I'm going to say those numbers again. Town appropriation of 2.5% increase over last year, $49,903,871. Override funding of $500,000. Total appropriation of $50,403,871. With the 2.5% increase plus the override money, the amount becomes 3.53%. And the total increase over last year is $1,717,000. And I keep doing that. I don't know why. $1,717,000. $1,717,168.
You just have to say it fast.
Motion to approve.
Whatever he just said.
I'll second.
So the motion on the dollar figure to present was made by Marcia and was seconded by who? Chris Mancini. Is there any further discussion on those numbers? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. New business, we have none. Matters for action, old business, school committee policy, second readings. I will read them off. Wellness, the wellness policy, middle school pathway exploration, use of school-owned vehicles, and the competency determination.
So there were no substantive changes made from the versions that you saw 2 weeks ago, but we went through to check for, typos or just there were sentences that just weren't reading the way they should. So we made sure we made some edits there, and then put them in a format that we typically are in the book. I realized as they print them out that sure the headings are all bolded the same way, so we'll make sure that happens. But for the most part, they're formatted the way that in the book minus a capitalization or underline here and there. We'll make sure that that's all consistent. Question?
Yeah, just a reminder to everybody at home, this has been vetted by our legal counsel.
It's been in the packet 2 cycles, so public had the opportunity to see it. Well, December 2nd meeting. And I should remind folks that the middle school pathway exploration policy and the competency determination policy are new requirements by the state, and our policies that are in front of you are heavily based on the draft models that we got from the state model.
I just received a quick question between our meetings around the wellness committee. I assume we currently have a wellness committee that's meeting regularly and following all the expectations of
Yes.
this policy. It includes a community member.
Multiple, yeah. There are, and we meet 4 times a year. Our last meeting was 2 weeks ago. And I think our next one is either February or March. So there hasn't traditionally been a school committee member there. I think my first year I put it out there if anyone wanted to volunteer. We were on so many subcommittees, there wasn't a large amount of enthusiasm there. So I'm happy to share with the committee the dates of the meetings for 2 reasons. If somebody would like to be sort of officially a part of it, great. But also just you have the dates and times and you can just come. We do meet here in the morning at 7:45 a.m. because we have community partners there, and it just makes it easier. They can usually hit it before the office. Because in addition to having folks from the health department of town, we also have folks from Marlborough Hospital or from the London Patriot Ambulance, from our ambulance provider, police, fire. So it just makes it a little bit easier for folks that aren't that are working elsewhere to kind of hit it before they go to the office. So I'll share the remaining. There's 2 meetings left. We've been to. And if somebody wants to be sort of a regular, just let me know. But otherwise, you're invited to.
Any questions or changes or edits to the policies? I know we made a few last time, and those have been made. So we should vote these policies separately. Okay, is there a motion to approve wellness policy, section ABF?
I'll make the motion to approve the wellness policy, section 8B and F.
Second.
You should probably clarify that that's a revision of an existing policy. The other 300.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Is there a motion to approve middle school pathway exploration policy, section JBA?
Motion to approve middle school pathway exploration policy JBA.
Second.
Who was the second? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Is there a motion to approve use of school-owned vehicles, section EEVA?
I make the motion that we, do, for the school-owned vehicles policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Is there a motion to approve the competency determination policy, section IKFE?
Motion to approve the competency determination section IKFE.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
The competency determination policy and middle school pathway exploration policy, just so you're aware, are required to be uploaded to a portal for the state. So I will do that. We got an extension on the middle school pathway policy through right now through the end of January, middle of January. But I'll get that done before the end of the calendar year. The competency determination is due by December 31st, so we'll do that week or next week, or I'll do it over the vacation week. So just so you know, we don't normally do that with all policies, but where it's a state mandated policy, I guess they check our work and make sure that everything works. And then once that's done, we'll incorporate it into the online policy book that the public has access to on our website.
Okay, next we have items of interest to the school committee. Are there any? I have one. We talked about this briefly last time. The Assabet Regional Vocational Technical High School got a hold of our 8th grade parents' emails and was incessantly emailing our 8th grade parents. We have 21 emails from Assabet in a 2-month period, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 4 times a week. So our attorney drafted an email, which I sent to the superintendent of schools of the Assabet Valley Regional Vocational Technical High School, and asking him to stop with the incessant emailing of our 8th graders. I have not received another email. I am not sure if I was sitting on the list or if they stopped doing it. I haven't heard from other 8th grade parents that they were continuing to. We've always had a good partnership with Assabet. Assabet is a great school to send your child to if your child wants to become have a vocational skill and go out into the workforce. You are able to also go to college from Assabet, so we've always considered them a partner. I think I led the school myself, but it has gotten to the point where Assabet is representing themselves that your child will be as prepared for college academically as if they graduated from Hudson High School or Marlboro High School or Clinton High School. And I don't know how someone who is an 8th grade parent could think that having your child in class half the time at Assabet that they would be at Hudson High School would be able to academically prepare, especially in math. You don't have math every day. And you have this on and off schedule of 1 week on, 1 week off. How you could be as well academically prepared for college as you would be if you were going to a traditional public high school having academics every single day of the week. But that is something for each parent to decide, and we open up our availability for kids that want to show interest in ASABIT to go over and see them. We now just implemented this new policy as well, but the email was drafted, not necessarily that well received, just about the amount of emails and the amount of pressure they're putting on our parents, and the information of how academically prepared you are there compared to Hudson High School. I would say you are going to be more academically prepared at Hudson High School, having your child in academic classes every day for 4 years, rather than 1 week on and 1 week off at ASABIT. But that is for the parents to decide. And it is not for ASABIT. It's called ASABIT Valley Regional Vocational Technical High School for a reason. And that is for the parents to decide how college prepared they want their kids to be, not for them to dictate to our parents. So that is the update on that. The email has been sent, and we'll see where that goes. I don't really expect it to go anywhere, and I am trying to find out if they're continuing to send emails, but as far as I know, they are not.
How did they get the emails in the first place?
There's just an error, which isn't going to happen again.
Yeah, the policy just approved tonight specifies that we will give them names, addresses of 7th and 8th graders every year. We haven't given emails before, just we new folks that weren't aware, but it was totally inadvertent. It wasn't. Actually, this policy, which I initially was not thrilled about, I think there's a positive part of it is we were now clear on what we do every year to collaborate with ASPID, make sure they have the information they need to reach families. And, I would second what Chris said, they have a phenomenal program over there.
They do.
We want families to, make an informed choice.
I went to the open house. I mean, if my child was interested in auto collision repair or many of the programs over there, they're great, but it's not Hudson High School, in my opinion, as a member of this committee, but also as a parent in this town, is going to far exceed your child in preparing them to go to college. So each parent can make their own decision.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any other items of interest for the school committee? So because we're meeting at 5:30, because of the 7 o'clock meeting for the Intel property, we had the students were just informed that we changed our meeting from 7 p.m. to 5:30. So Jackson has just come in. Jackson, do you know if the other two are going to come, or are
It
you?
should be on his way, but Soul's at work right now, won't be able to.
That's totally fine.
So,
Then
I can
please,
cover
please tell her we apologize. It's very unusual for us to change our meeting time from 7 to 5:30, so to have her not worry about it at all.
Alright.
And then if you want to take as long as you need to give your presentation, hopefully Julian will walk in while you're giving yours.
Sounds good. So we have it all written up, so I'm gonna cover their parts, and if Julian comes in, I'll let him finish his.
Okay.
So I'll start with Julian's parts. Might not be as funny, but. Alright. So this is a student's report for December 16th, 2025 for the Hudson School Committee. So some current and previous events that happened was on December 10th. The 10th grade had a Hawk Day, which is essentially an opportunity for the staff and the students in 10th grade to be able to work together and grow community and talk a lot, and engage in activities on how to focus on social emotional learning, health, and how to deal with situations, while also trying to have some fun and build community to be more close together as an entire grade. Ms. Bradford was the one who coordinated this, and she's been doing this for I think 3 or 4 years now, and I personally have participated and facilitated some Hawk Days, and I think that they're great. We also have, I don't really know what that is, but so What's going to keep going on throughout December is that there will be afternoon dismissal, and there have been parking lot safety issues to remind you. So if you're pulling out of the senior lot, make sure you're going the right way and following the flow of traffic. A lot of people are going outside of that. This issue's been warranted by Dr. Becky, and we really just wanted to emphasize that.
Can I comment on that?
You can.
So being a parent of a high school student who doesn't have their license yet, it is somewhat treacherous getting in and out of the high school in the morning. And we have had this issue, it has been going on since before the new high school was built. Because the line of cars that is coming down Brigham Street is backed up almost to the Elks, at least usually to where the intersection of Brigham and Park, Brigham goes up, Park goes toward the Elks. So at 7:20 in the morning, the line is that long to get into the high school, but you also have people coming down Brigham the other way. So the juniors park over in the junior lot, but anybody who's coming from that end of town is coming over and has to take a left into the high school coming in the other direction. So like, I happen to live very close to the high school, so my child usually walks, but if it's raining, snowing, or is 0 degrees out, I will drive her. And when I'm coming down Brigham Street for the 500 feet that I need to get on Brigham Street to get there, I'll usually let people go in just because it's hard, we're getting towards the bell, the traffic is a lot. I don't know if that's more kids are driving to school because our school population is less than it was when like 20 years ago when I was on the school committee, we had these problems and there were a couple hundred more kids in the high school and we had the same problems. So in this day and age, where the high school population is a couple hundred less than it was back then, the issue is just as severe. So my best guess is we have more kids driving to school. And I don't think there is a solution other than requesting, if possible in the morning, that the Hudson Police Department be out in front of the school directing traffic, but I know that they don't have the staff to be doing that. So we can ask for them to do that once in a while when they have the ability to. But, the police and fire in this town, their personnel has not increased. We've gone from 1980 to 2020, we've gone from 16,000 to 20,000 people, and we have not increased our police or fire staff. So we can't just say to the police department, please put somebody at the entrance of Hudson High School every morning at 7:30, at 7:15, and every afternoon at 2 p.m. They can do it if they can do it. But there are a tremendous amount of cars trying to get into the high school between 7:15 and 7:30 and exiting between 2:03 and 2:20.
I do think one of the solutions, though, and I think this is what you said, people are not following the flow of traffic. You are not supposed to come down the opposite of the one-way pathway in between the cars.
I don't feel that they are. I don't see it.
No, people are not. They're coming down the one-way. So where you're supposed to go straight through the parking lot around to the left, you get stuck there for what feels like forever, especially a pickup. So people are turning around their cars, coming opposite down the one-way, and that's where there are almost multiple accidents every day.
Yeah, I haven't run into that, so, but I'm just in the morning, I'm not in the afternoon.
This is afternoon.
Okay.
Go do a little observation shift, you'll be terrified. So I think it's a really good update, just to remind people to follow the one-way signs and the flow of traffic.
So, like, even in the parking lot tonight, okay, there are one-way signs on that parking lot, so there will be nobody in the parking lot. Usually, there's nobody in the parking lot, there might be somebody when we leave. So when I pull out of my spot, I still go right towards the baseball field and around. You see a lot of people pulling out and going the wrong way and coming back.
That's what's happening.
I didn't realize that was happening during school pickup.
It's happening at pickup every single day.
How would we address that? Like,
People to follow the rules.
Well, the other thing, I mean, not to add more to the facilities or to the budget, but what about striping the parking lot? I thought of this, I don't know, we had this conversation
There's a sign, every time you can take a left, there's a sign that says, enter here, enter this, one way. I think the only thing we can do is repaint the stripes, repaint the arrows.
Right, repainting the arrows and something like dead space on the left where it is a one-way with the lines. You know what I mean? I can draw it out. I can show you.
It's teachers
striping.
and faculty and students as well. So this is a shared community issue that I think we just need to all be on the same page with. And so I think, the message out to caregivers is follow one way, and then potentially there could also be a reminder for the school to make sure that staff coming out with badges are also following the same path.
Yeah, seniors and juniors recently had a meeting in the auditorium, and we did talk about this. Dr. Becky said that if it comes to it, she will stand out and direct traffic, but she said she's gonna give us another chance. See how
We've got a crossing guard.
Challenge of directing is there's multiple roads where this is happening, so you need like you need a team of people out there to do it. But we could certainly look into.
If you had one person standing at the last row, watching somebody come up the wrong way and redirecting them for a while until they stop doing it, especially if it's staff.
That would be the only way to tackle it. You would need somebody inward facing in the parking lot, because I know it's busy out in the road, because I live there too, but the problem's happening in the parking lot.
When I was principal, I often wondered why, I'm sure there's a reason, why they didn't have another exit that was between the end of Bush and where that sidewalk is.
The old high school had that, and if you look close enough, the curb cut is still there.
Because I think that entry point is such a disaster. It's just so hard to make the loop happen.
I'm not sure there's the width there to probably put in to use that second exit. Because if you're in the far end zone of the Bush Memorial Field to the property line with that walkway in there, I'm not sure that I would have to imagine if it was feasible at the time they would have done it, because the entrance was already there. With the old high school, you'd come in one way and go out the other.
I mean, it's possible that some creative striping can help with visuals too, because the one way we're talking about is so wide, it feels like it should be a two-way. Like maybe it was at one time, I don't
What about
know.
some cones or something to make it more narrow?
Yeah, I mean, now they put a sign on every morning that says buses only, and then somebody jogs on the sign, and they're just trying to keep the front clear because of drop off in the front. It's just.
I mean, it might be worth for next school year looking at the pickup procedures, because it is a little bit complicated and unclear when you have 5 rows of traffic. Let's assume everybody is going the correct way, all filtering out to one area. It really just, it takes a really long time. And then you have cars trying to get out the parking lot, but you have cars lined up for pickup or drop off, and you're blocking cars from getting in and out. It's a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe you can think about like streamlining the flow a little bit. Did you know that this agenda item was going to be so exciting for
I
us?
didn't even know it was mine. So.
I'm not as concerned about the time it takes to get in and out. I'm concerned about the safety.
But the reason that people are making U-turns and going the wrong way down one of these streets is because of the time it takes to get out.
Oh, I see.
They're trying to include it.
I mean, it sometimes takes me 25 minutes to get out of that parking lot.
It's really.
I could walk.
No, you're up the hill there.
And it's big, heavy backpacks, big. We digress.
All right, now we got Julie here, so he's got the upcoming events. All right.
Julie,
Sorry for
I stalled enough.
He did.
I was stalling enough just to give you enough time to get here.
Alright,
We wanted your camera for the evening. We look forward to it.
All right, perfect, thank you. Sorry for being late.
You're not late. We didn't tell you the meeting started at 5:30, that's on us.
It's our fault that we didn't tell you the correct start time of the meeting.
That's all right. Thank you for that. As for the upcoming events, on December 18th, there'll be a winter band concert at Hudson High School, which will be at 7 p.m. On December 22nd, the seniors will be having their annual senior breakfast, and there will be no classes, for the seniors and only for the seniors. There will also be a half day for seniors only, which is quite nice. On December 23rd, there will be a half day for all of the students, and dismissal will be at 10:30 a.m. As for, after this, on December 24th through January 2nd, winter break will be held, and school will resume on January 5th. Happy holidays to everyone. So as for sports events, so the girls varsity basketball will be going against LSHS. I'm not sure what high school that is.
Lincoln Central High School.
All right, thank you. Today at 6:30 p.m., boys basketball will verse Weston, and that will be on the 17th, so tomorrow at 4 p.m. JV basketball will verse Weston as well tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Varsity basketball will also, another varsity basketball team. I think we have this wrong, sorry about that.
I think it's boys version.
Oh, okay, thank you. So boys varsity will now verse Weston tomorrow again at 7 p.m. And boys varsity basketball will also verse QRHS.
I think it's Quabbin Regional.
Quabbin Regional, thank you. December 19th at 6:30 p.m. Girls varsity basketball will verse the same team, Quabbin Regional, the same day at 7 p.m. And boys varsity ice hockey will verse VVRVT.
Blackstone Valley Regional Vocational Technical High School.
Thank you. On the 20th at 12 p.m.
Sorry, Julie, could you just tell me the date again of the winter band concert?
Oh yeah, of course. The winter band concert will be December 18th, so this Thursday at 7 p.m.
That's 5.
So it was scheduled for tonight because of the town meeting in there tonight. It got changed to
Yeah, we're told this tomorrow.
Yeah, middle school there.
Oh, middle school,
Yeah.
okay.
middle school is tomorrow and high school is now Thursday.
Got it, thank you. That's what I was missing. You did a good job covering the athletics.
Thank you.
Also, Julian, I will send you the link to the Mid-Watch League so you can see all the codes and all the names of the high schools that we play.
Yeah, I will need that for
All right, so some things that Hudson High School is up to. The 10th grade just recently had their HOC Day, which I talked about a little bit in the past events. And senior class is also getting hyped about their holiday breakfast that Julian talked about. I'm personally really excited about it, and I think it's a tradition that I've always watched on and been like, oh boy, I can't wait for me to do that. So now's my year, and it's here for everyone else too. And we're nearing December break, and a lot of students are excited, so I hope everyone rests up and enjoys their holiday season. As for student council, holiday coalition was a major success with a huge turnout, nearly 30 families being sponsored throughout the building. That includes clubs, that includes certain teachers, and mostly H blocks. But it was really great and heartwarming for me personally to see a lot of teachers who didn't have an H block, they had prep, they personally sponsored a student. And I know a bunch of clubs, like Julie and I are both on National Honor Society, and we sponsored a child there. So it was really great to support all kinds of people. And we're also working on candy cane grants right now. So students are able to add lunches by a candy cane grant for $1. And during someone's F block, they'll mail the gram to them and has a little sentence written on it. So it's a nice way to spread cheer to your friends and people you want to send candy canes to.
And as for concerns of student body, we don't have any at the moment.
Julian, I'll just add one thing to your tremendous sports update that you gave us.
Okay.
The girls basketball team, I know you said they're playing their second game tonight. They did win their first game. That was the only article that I caught in the Telegram. But they also had a senior in your grade featured on High Five on Channel 5. So Christina Bruce, who is a senior this year, and they might have had 2 games already. I think they might be 2-0. I think she has scored 25 and 20 points in her first 2 games, and she had been in a bad car accident and missed a season and has recovered, and she was featured on Channel 5. It was a great segment. So congratulations to her, and she's back playing basketball. She plays soccer also, and she's doing excellent on the court.
Yeah, and for more on that, if you want to watch like a replay of that, I think they have it like Jessica Winters has it somewhere. I think it's like on her Facebook or something like
Twitter.
Twitter, thank you.
I believe it's also in the Hudson High social media account on Facebook.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and again,
Thank
we
you both.
apologize
For
for
you guys for making it.
Have a good holidays.
Great
Yeah,
job.
you too.
Thank you.
Anything else? There is no need for executive session tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. You will say this.
And all those in favor? And we are adjourned at 6:35 PM. Thank you.